I'm Shipwrecks Crew.
And I'm The Cleansing.
And we thought we'd just get together. Now we're halfway through the season already and kind of look at where everything stands at this point, how wrong we were on so many things.
Or right.
And we were right on a couple things. So we'll kind of go over that. So first up, we just wanted to go over our biggest surprises so far this year, our biggest disappointments. My vote for biggest surprise so far this year has got to be Matt Ryan. I mean, every week he kept doing well. Every week, even the top analysts were sitting there saying, okay, he won't be able to do it this week against the Broncos. He won't be able to do it this week against the Seahawks, but he keeps doing it. I guess he's just going to have the year of his life. He's the top player in fantasy, I think, right now, and it's not really even that close. So he's been a huge surprise this year.
And my biggest surprise for better is going to be Terrell Pryor. Somehow, some way, he's on the field. He's not playing quarterback. Well, sometimes he is. But he's playing wide receiver, and he's putting up monster numbers. He had 144 yards one game. He had 2 touchdowns, I believe, last week. Another touchdown before that. He seems to be a very good red zone target, and he's just a freak athlete, making plays. And whoever picked him up, congratulations.
I think that stat was like he was the first player since a long time ago to have like more than 4 pass attempts, like 4 rushing attempts, and like 4 receptions, something like that.
At one point in that game, he was the leading passer, the leading rusher, and the leading receiver. So
that is a fantasy gem right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, crazy what Terrell Pryor is doing. Biggest disappointment, I'm gonna go with the Raider, Latavius Murray this year. Going into the season, I was really thinking he was a surefire, at least number 2. He was going to get the work. He had a good offensive line, and I don't know what they're doing over there. They're just giving everybody a chance to run the ball over there, and no one seems to be able to do it that effectively. He got a little banged up, but we'll see how kind of things shake out. But I've been shocked at how disappointing he's been this year.
So from a Raiders point of view, I really feel like when he was gone, they missed him. It looked like there's a lot of big runs that could have been there, and if it was Murray, he could have trucked the guy. He could have, made a move. But I don't feel like the other guys are the big, beefy guys that can take the field, run the ball down the field like he can. So I think he'll get a bigger workload when healthy.
Did you see that hit by Derek Johnson on Jalen Richard?
Yeah, that was painful to watch.
That was a nice hit.
But if he got injured, then that'd be helpful. But all right, so for my bad pick, it's going to be Demaryius Thomas. You stayed healthy. You're on the field. Well, stayed healthy for the most part, but you're on the field and you're not making plays. And you're not making that much points. And you've really been a big disappointment to me in other leagues, not this league. But, so he needs to step it up if he wants to actually be a good wide receiver like I thought he was in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I had high hopes for him too coming into the season, and I figured the quarterback play couldn't be that much worse. Simeon started off really hot. It's kind of fallen off since then. We'll see if he can rebound this week and actually return the value that everyone expected on Demaryius Thomas. So moving on, kind of just going through some of the top players in the league so far this year. Other surprises, quarterback position, you got Matt Ryan number 1, Matt Stafford number 2. He's just been throwing touchdowns like crazy. And then Roethlisberger is actually number 4. I found that kind of shocking. Obviously he's going to drop after the injury, but he's been pretty hot this year. Moving on to running backs, who do we got at running back?
Well, at number 1 is obviously David Johnson. Then we got McCoy, who's a big surprise. Everyone thought he was going to get injured. Now he's injured. Ezekiel Elliott, pretty nice surprise. That guy is super good. DeMarco Murray seems to be coming back to form and picking up in the 4th round. Fantastic.
Yeah, those four guys have just been workhorses. Like it is unprecedented. It's really kind of showing that maybe in fantasy drafting one of those running backs early would be super beneficial because those guys have just been killing it this year.
Yeah. And then for Melvin Gordon Hyde, they've been pretty good. Hyde seems to be the only thing on the Niners offense. Blunt got lucky with Deion Lewis getting injured. Coleman and Freeman back-to-back. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
I don't know why Coleman is ahead at this point, but hopefully Freeman can step up.
Touchdowns, and more touchdowns.
He's doing such little amount of carries and catches. It's crazy.
Yeah. That whole Falcons offense has been kind of a shock this year. It's been pretty crazy. And speaking of the Falcons offense, you got Julio Jones as the number 1 wide receiver. He had that monster game with 300 receiving yards, I think.
Yeah, against the Panthers.
Crazy. Antonio Brown's still up there at number 2. And then Marvin Jones is the 3rd wide receiver. He had a big game too, 200 yards, I think 2 touchdowns. That kind of propelled him forward. He's kind of cooled down of late. But he's looked really good over there in Detroit as well. Odell Beckham had a big game, finally got him back up there into the top 10 last week. Then T.Y. Hilton, who's actually had a monster year so far. He's just pretty much been the only consistent wide receiver for Andrew Luck. So he's just been getting peppered with targets. Other surprises in the top 10 wide receiver, Larry Fitzgerald, the old man, still getting it done. And then Terrell Pryor, like we said earlier, is actually the 8th best wide receiver in the league, which is just crazy. How about the tight ends?
Well, the tight ends, there's not much to say about them. You got Greg Olson, Bennett, Henry, Zach Miller, and Jordan Reed. The fact that
Who the hell's Henry?
Yeah, he's on the Chargers, and he's the backup tight end. And he's, well, I guess Gates has been injured.
The backup tight end for the San Diego Chargers is the number 3 tight end so far.
And the
season.
number 2 tight end is a backup as well, too.
Martellus Bennett, yeah.
Tight ends are wishy-washy garbage.
Tight end has just been so abysmal this year. It's disgusting.
How do you be number 4 and not that good? That blows my mind.
Zach Miller.
Yes.
Not the Raiders, Zach Miller.
The other one.
Yeah. Then lastly, the defenses. Holy crap, the Vikings defense has been killing it. They're still the number 1 rated defense after having a bye. A lot of these other teams haven't had byes yet. And then the Cardinals D, people are pretty high on them coming into the season, so it's not a big surprise. The Bills defense, holy crap, did the Ryan brothers finally learn how to coach a defense? I still don't believe it. I think they're not for real, but we'll see if they hang up there in the top category on defense. I mean, just every defense. Is it Rob Ryan?
Yeah.
Rob Ryan's the defensive coordinator, right? Yeah, he just seems to whatever defense he touches just falls apart. But so far, not so much in Buffalo this year.
I believe there was a stat when Rob Ryan comes into a team for the first year, pretty good, and then everything after is garbage.
Okay, all right.
So next year the Bills.
Don't draft the Bills. Okay, so that's really it for the top players so far this season. Some interesting storylines there. Going into our last video, we talked about the draft and what we thought were the best picks, worst picks, best draft. So we're kind of going to revisit those and see how right or wrong we were. So for the worst picks, I had picked Ben Roethlisberger as one of the worst picks in the draft. Obviously, he started off really good. He was the number 4 quarterback in the league so far. So not a bad pick. Probably could have got him later, but still, he's been so good this year. But in normal Roethlisberger fashion, he's injured again. We don't know, maybe 2 weeks at best case, 6 weeks possibly, worst case. So we'll see what happens with Roethlisberger. It seems like he's just his normal self, always getting hurt. Probably still not worth that 3rd round pick. How about you?
Well, I picked up Sammy Watkins to be the worst pick of the draft. I'd say I nailed the coffin on that one. Or the dart, something random.
Or the foot.
Yeah, the other foot. There we go. He just, when he played, he wasn't doing that well. He got injured, and now he's done. So
he was clearly not 100%. You could tell he was in pain running around. I don't know. They thought he was going to go all year with that. I don't know, but that was definitely not the greatest pick. On to some good picks. I had picked Doug Martin as one of the best picks of the draft, and I guess you could say it's every other year Doug Martin sucks. So I guess this is his suck year. He was supposed to come back this week, and then he re-aggravated his injury. So we're probably not going to see him for another 2 or 3 weeks. He's got a great schedule down the stretch, so maybe he could still salvage someone's fantasy season. But Doug Martin, once again, just the injuries, every other year thing, just not getting it done.
Yeah, so if you're a pretty good team, you got some depth, go pick up Doug Martin. My best pick was Demaryius Thomas. Talked about it earlier. That didn't go so well. He's not getting the production he should be getting. Simeon needs to start throwing the ball or just keep losing.
He's been solid. He hasn't been killing your team, but he hasn't been a 1 or 2. Most people draft him as a 2. He's been more of like a 3 all year. But definitely, not living up to the expectations there.
I mean, you expect that in the 3rd round. Something at least a little good.
And now we get into the best drafts. Now these are the computer picked DP Hit Squad Dave Fowles team as the best draft. I selected this guy's team over here as the best draft, and he picked Soulless Saints draft as the best draft. Their combined records I think they have 9 wins total, combining all of them together.
Mostly for me, by the way.
Yeah. So Dave Fowles' team, 2-10, was voted best by pretty much all the websites, analyzers, and whatnot. What I got is his drafted team right here. Drew Brees, Kirk Cousins. They've been pretty good this year. But Adrian Peterson obviously went down early. That hurt a ton for Mr. DP. He definitely should have picked up the handcuffs there just to protect himself. Adrian Peterson was getting up in the years. But missing Peterson. Ingram hasn't quite lived up to the hype. He drafted Jay Ajayi, but has since dropped him. Wide receiver Jordy Nelson started off hot, been cooled down since. Golden Tate, the opposite, started off really slow, had a good game last week. Edelman's been dying for Brady to come back. If you look at those wide receivers to start the year, Nelson, Tate, Edelman, you're thinking that's a pretty solid wide receiving core, but that just hasn't really lived up to the hype. Zach Ertz got hurt early in the season at tight end. Panthers defense has been a total disappointment. Man, they look terrible. So really, a lot of the players that look good to start the year, like a lot of players, just not living up to expectations. And so the 2-10 record, it's going to be hard to climb back from that. And then you selected Solus Saint as the best draft now.
No.
There's his team. Why don't you
take a
go?
look at
What
his
happened?
team.
What happened to Mr. Solus Saint here?
Well, I just want to start this off by saying thanks for proving me wrong. But thanks again, because I'm ahead of you. He has Jameis Winston at quarterback, who's been up and down. Ezekiel Elliott and Doug Martin look like one of the best running back cores until Martin went down. Elliott was still a stud. And is that David or Duke?
That is the
I'm guessing
Duke.
That's Duke, yeah. 'Cause the other one has
He'd be having a much different season if that was David Johnson.
Duke Sims is out. Duke was okay. I mean, he's a good fill-in, I guess. Morris hasn't really played. Mike Evans, Jeremy Maclin, Eric Decker. It seems like a pretty good combo, kind of like the previous team. Mm-hmm. But Maclin is yet to prove that he was worth that.
Terrible.
Decker's out for season. Deshaun Jackson's always a big play, no play kind of guy. Yeah. Michael Thomas.
Oh,
you got Terrell Pryor.
Oh,
Did you cut
Terrell
him?
Pryor.
Did he keep him or cut
I
him?
think he cut him.
Ah,
That would have helped.
that's a shame. He's not the best kicker. That I'll give him that. He's got the Bengals D, who's solid.
They've been solid.
Gary Barnidge, I still think he's good, and he's getting better. Especially if somehow Pryor's not playing this week, he'll get more targets.
Except he's not on the roster anymore. But
Oh, bad. Or good. Good job. That's pretty much everything from his team.
And so the last team is this guy's team here. I thought he had the best draft coming into the season. I would, thank you. Now Derek Carr has been a great pick for him. Has been surprised me a ton. I didn't think he was going to be this good, but he's up there. He's in the top 6 or 7 quarterbacks this year. So that's looked like a good pick. We went over Latavius earlier. Latavius Murray. He's kind of disappointed. Ryan Matthews also hasn't done too much this season. He looks like he's in a committee now. Arian Foster injured as normal. Isaiah Crowell started off hot, hasn't done too good since. Terrence West really saving his running back core to keep any sort of semblance here. But we all knew that wasn't the strength of his team. He went wide receiver heavy with Allen Robinson, Dez Bryant, Jarvis Landry, and Josh Gordon, which looked like one of the best wide receiving cores on paper. But Robinson hasn't really put up the numbers. Dez Bryant got hurt again. Jarvis Landry, he's been his solid self, but nothing special. And Josh Gordon decided to go back into rehab. So he's done. I don't think we'll ever see him on the field again. Fleener was disappointing to start the year as well for his team. So it looked really shiny and sparkly to start the year during the draft season, but now kind of looks like a turd. Not so good. It's funny how sure we can be about how good some team is, and then be so wrong in fantasy football.
Yeah.
Oh, fantasy football. And talking about things that go wrong, we're going to go now into the trade rape of the season nominees so far. So a couple fun we don't have the whistle. We need to get one. One of my favorite stats so far has been that there have been 18 trades in the league so far. 13 of those trades involve Nick. 13 of the 18 trades involve Nick. That's crazy.
13's a lucky number, too.
And then there's only a few people that haven't traded so far this year. Just wanted to make this of note. Solus Saint hasn't made a trade. DP Hit Squad hasn't made a trade. And Mean Machine haven't made a trade this year. But everyone else is out there trading, trying to make their team better. But let's see here. So the nominees. So here are the nominees that we kind of got together. We looked at all the trades. These are the 3 teams we think should be nominated for trade rape so far this season. We still have 4 weeks of trades, so there could be a worse trade coming. But first off, we got Nick traded Sammy Watkins to Ryan for T.Y. Hilton. Now, Sammy Watkins was already injured in this trade. We weren't sure what was going on. I guess Nick was going for the upside, but that's got to be one of the nominees. Another nominee is Nick trades Todd Gurley, Michael Crabtree, to this guy, Sebastian, for Isaiah Crowell, Jarvis Landry, and 15 fab. Thank you. Isaiah Crowell for Todd Gurley is kind of what this trade comes down to. How does that sound today? Not so good.
Well, it sounded good to me. I liked it.
And then the last one is we got Nick trades. I guess Nick's involved in all these. Nick trades Joe Flacco to out-of-town Dave for Spencer Ware. I think Nick was actually on the good side of this trade, though. Flacco for Spencer Ware is looking really good right about now. So which one do you think is the leader in the clubhouse so far, though?
So far, I'm going to have to go with T.Y. Hilton for Sammy Watkins. Especially because while trading Sammy Watkins, you knew he was injured. You knew it could be bad. But you traded T.Y. Hilton for it. And whoever got T.Y., I guess...
What did we say? T.Y. Hilton.
Did Nick get T.Y. in this, or did that...
No, Ryan got T.Y. And T.Y.
Okay.
is the 5th highest scoring wide receiver.
Yeah, so you traded a pretty good wide receiver for some guy without a foot. So, Ryan... Congratulations.
That one is pretty bad. The other nominee to me is the out-of-town Dave giving Spencer Ware for Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco pretty much just a waiver wire quarterback. Spencer Ware looks like he could be one of those number 1 running backs rest this season with how the Chiefs are using him right now. So that might be one to watch. Also.
Especially with Charles, his knee swelled up a couple days ago, so Spencer Ware will be getting even more of a workload. And if he stays at number 1, he's obviously going to be number 1 running back at the end of the season. So
yes, indeed. So that's it for the trades there. As far as the playoff, lastly, we just want to talk about the playoff picture and kind of where things sit right now. Leading the way, we got Vicious and Delicious at 10-2, scoring 770.26 points. Nick, stop crying about your trades, okay? Stop it. All right. So Vicious and Delicious leading the way. LaShawn McCoy, DeMarco Murray really carrying his team this year. He's been on a pace of 128 points, I believe, this season per game, which is higher than last year's top team, which scored only 114 points per game. So he's definitely looking pretty solid there for leading the way in the playoffs. Probably the number 1 seed in Digital GM. Secondly, we have ... 9-3, 670.5 points, leading the way with Carlos Hyde and David Johnson really carrying his team. He's well on his way to making the playoffs in Armchair Quarterback as well. What about some of these other teams here, Sam?
Well, then we got Shipwreck's crew. He also has a 9-3 record, and he has 612 points. He's really lucked his way through the season this year, and he's going to go down. Like Shipwreck, you always go down with your ship. Then we got D's Nuts, who's 7-5, 608 points. I believe he mentioned it in his article on the message board, saying he's showing that he just wasn't a one-hit wonder, and he's actually able to play.
Indeed, and scoring over 100 points per game. That was without Le'Veon Bell. He's got Le'Veon Bell back now, so he's looking like he's in the driver's seat for a playoff spot.
All right. And then we got the Mean Machine, also referred to as a toaster. He is 6-6. He is at the top, not the top, but he's in the playoffs at the moment, unless somebody, meaning me, will take that spot and beat him. But he's got 578 points of the season. He's been doing pretty well. I wish I remembered anybody's players on anybody's team.
Yeah, no one's really seen or heard of Marshall, so if you've seen him, give his mom a call. She's looking for him. And then Team 2B, he's sitting at 7-5, I believe. He started off red hot, was the best team in the league for the first few weeks, but has since cooled down. Still got a good shot at making the playoffs here. After that, we got Nick Sergeant Smash
Smashed.
at 4-8. Scoring 556.78 points right now. He's got some. He's one of the. I think he's the 7th highest scoring team this year. His record doesn't really reflect that, so I could see him maybe turning it around here a little bit. Looking at the minimum points needed to get into the playoffs last year, you needed to average. The worst team was 89.09. That was D's Nuts last year, but he kind of squeaked in a bad division. The next highest was 98.78 points. That's probably the threshold you want to target when trying to make the playoffs. And so right now, that these teams are pretty close from Nick up. Teams kind of that are quite a bit below that threshold, starting with Mobile City Chiefs at 7-5. He's got the good record, but he's going to need to turn those point totals around in order to make a good playoff push. And then we got the dregs of the league here, and these bottom 4 teams. What's the first team saying?
The first team is Solus Saint. I was talking about him, and he was really disappointed at this year. He's only got 533 points, and really it was me. I lied. But I am 4-8, and I have 540 points. I've had some bad luck with some buys, some injuries, some drugs. A lot of things have gone wrong with my team. We got to get it together in the locker room before we can put it on the field. So eventually that is going to happen.
Do you see your team turning it around? I mean, a lot of trades have been made recently.
Yeah.
Are your running backs, wide receivers going to be enough to turn this thing around?
My hope was to kind of take a gamble, and I traded Todd Gurley and Allen Robinson for Antonio Brown and C.J. Anderson.
Did you trade Dez too?
And I gave him Dez, yeah. I figured last year Dez got injured again after he came back. He comes back pretty fast, so I was hoping he would get injured again so I didn't look stupid. And Allen Robinson's been a huge disappointment to me. Antonio Brown's been fantastic, but now you got Landry Jones. I'm hoping with the year into the system, they just force him to throw Antonio Brown the ball. I don't care if they lose, just throw him the ball. And C.J. Anderson got a couple touchdowns throwback last week with flags and a couple big runs. Otherwise, Nick might not have made the trade. I do not know.
He's one of those players, C.J. Anderson, that has looked really good when you actually watch the game.
Yeah.
But a lot of penalties have come at inopportune times for him. He looks like a really good player. I don't know what the deal is over there in Denver, but I could see him having a really strong end of the year.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Otherwise, I'm screwed.
And you were talking about Solus Saint. He's sitting down there at 3-9. In my article, I kind of went over what records you're looking at to make the playoffs that I posted earlier this week. He's looking at pretty much only able to lose a couple more games throughout the season. He's sitting on a gold mine with Ezekiel Elliott. Maybe needs to turn Ezekiel Elliott into something in order to make this team a more solid unit right now, because Ezekiel Elliott's almost all he's got. Then we got the Daves holding down the bottom of the league here. Both are averaging close to 90 or below 90 points per game. That's not where you want to be, obviously. So definitely had some things go wrong with both these teams. They're both the new guys, and they just haven't quite been representing themselves up to where they probably would like to. Do you have any thoughts on these last two teams here?
Yeah, DP Hit Squad's probably going to get a loss this week. If he can get in the top 6, maybe he'll get an extra win, but I just don't see him beating his opponent. Do you know who his opponent is?
I'm not sure, so.
Yeah. No, I can't remember. Check the Smack Talk videos. I think the guy posted a video.
Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Let us know what you guys think. Who's been your biggest disappointment? I'm sure we'll get some nasty posts from Nick saying how good all his trades are, and some other voice of opinion on what was the worst trade so far this season. Do you have any parting thoughts here?
Yeah, please like, subscribe, and comment on this video below, and you could be entered in to win a free football.
Not really. Yeah.
I'm not giving it away.
All right, guys. Take it easy.